Hey, this is Yulia and welcome to my channel. Here I talk all things travel in the world, learning languages, living abroad, and much more. You've asked me for this video and I delivered. How to move to Portugal with a D7 visa. I'm gonna tell you everything I know, everything from my experience, how we got the visa, how was the process, and all the nitty-gritty of things. So if you're interested in moving to Portugal or just wanna, enjoy another video of Miss Yulia, then keep on watching. First of all, two disclaimers. The first one is that your passport matters. Your place of living, of residency, matters because process differs from city to city, from country to country. Me and my husband applied from Montreal, Canada. I saw some posts from people from Vancouver and the process was like completely different. So that's one thing. The second thing, I'm not an immigration lawyer or consultant, and I'm talking only from my own experience. So people saying, this is not true. Well, this is what happened to me, to my husband. This is how we moved to Portugal. So only my experience and SEF website. Good. So as I've mentioned before, we moved to Portugal with a D7 visa. What is a D7 visa? Well, basically it's a visa/residence permit for people with passive income. It can be retired people getting their pensions. It can be some religious workers. It can be just people renting out their apartments, and that's basically what we did. What is a passive income aside from the rent? Well, it can be dividends, it can be royalties, pension, rent, any passive income that is stable, meaning it comes every single month. It might be different amounts of money, but if, let's say, you're renting out your apartment, it should be, every month on 1st of the month, you should get your rent from your tenants. So the whole D7 residency permit consists of two steps. The first one is you get an entry visa from your country, so from the place you live in. The second step is getting your residency permit when you move to Portugal. So step number one, you need to get your visa. What do you need for a visa? Well, it's super easy. As always, passport, pictures, applications, your income, meaning bank, criminal check in your country, criminal check in Portugal. But for criminal check in Portugal, you just sign some papers and then they do all that stuff on the Portuguese side. Meaning you don't need to go and ask Portugal for the criminal check. They'll do it themselves. You just need to sign, I think, 2 papers and they're gonna do it for you. Aside from all these documents, we enclosed a Portuguese bank, so we were able to open an account. Not me, my husband, because he has a Canadian passport. I have a Russian passport, and they said, "Excuse me, Miss Yulia, we do not open banks remotely for Russian citizens. But for Canadian, of course, you can call us on Zoom and we'll open an account for you." #discrimination. But at the end of the day, they opened an account for him. At least we had something. We also enclosed our NIF numbers. It's like a tax number, like social security, social insurance number. We opened it with the help of some kind of company. I think my husband found it online. We paid literally 50 euros and then they opened the whole thing for us. And a cover letter. But the cover letter, they're not asking for it, but you're supposed to have it. I personally wrote a letter saying, I, Yulia, am applying for D7 residency. Here's what I'm enclosing to my application. But they said they want a letter why Portugal? Why are you guys moving to Portugal? You're in Canada. What the hell is happening? But I'm gonna tell you about the letter later. So how much money do you actually need to qualify for a passive income visa? Well, Google says it's 8,000 euros per year for the main applicant and half price, meaning 4K, for the dependent. But you know what's the best part is? There is no family application here in Portugal. That means that you have 2 options. The first one is the main applicant, whoever, let's say my husband, applies, and then he comes to Portugal, gets all his papers done, gets his card, and then he invites me to come and to, do the family reunification. But the thing is, it's COVID, so I can't get any touristic visas to get into Europe, to get into Portugal, because Portugal is like, we only do immigration visas. Other countries are not doing any travel visas also, so for us it wasn't an option. But the second thing is you can both apply as individuals, meaning your husband or your wife shows income and you show income. We decided to risk and applied as two separate individuals. Why I said risked? Because I didn't have 8K per year of passive income to like qualify, but we wrote a sponsorship letter saying, I am going to sponsor my wife. Here's our joint account in Portugal. Like that's the money we have. And we put like, I think around 20K euros. So it was like more than they were asking for. So for our applications in Canada, we paid around 300 Canadian, so 200 euros. And they told us that the process is gonna take around 30 to 60 days. The thing was, it was COVID. And I told my husband, I was like, you know what? They either have nothing to do, so it's gonna be super fast, because no one travels, obviously, or it's gonna be super long, because, you know, they have other stuff to do. So we've sent everything by mail. The lady in the consulate, she checked all the papers. She was like, yeah, you can bring all the originals. So we scheduled an appointment with consulate. We went, we brought in all the papers. In a few days, my husband gets an email saying, hey, can you guys write an explanation letter? Like, why Portugal? Why are you guys moving? And we were like, oh, okay, yeah, let's write something. So I wrote that we chose Portugal because it's a beautiful country.
2 hours later.
So we have decided that why not try living in Europe? We've sent this letter, but we didn't get the response. So we were not sure if the person received the letter. We decided to send it by mail, just in case, you know, like paperwork, bureaucracy, Portugal, they love it. So we've sent the same letter physically to the consulate. No response. We were like, you know what? Sure, let's wait. Like, what else can we do? Nothing, let's wait. And in a month, we get a call saying, hey, come with your passports and get your visas stamped into them. And we were like, what? Like, I mean, okay. It took them actually, I think 30 days from us sending the emails to us coming to the consulate and getting the visas. That was amazing news. Like, I mean, I wasn't expecting that I would get a visa because, again, as I've mentioned before, I had some passive income from like YouTube, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't like even close to IKEA. But I guess they decided that we have enough money to sustain ourselves. Also, we have an apartment. So yeah, they gave us both visas. Speaking of visas, visas are only valid for 4 months and it has 2 entries. In case something happened, you need to go back to your country, something like, you know, emergencies happen. So you can only like come to Portugal and then apply for your residence permit, which is step 2. The thing is, we were given the appointments with the immigration from Montreal, from Canada. Again, it depends on the country, on the city, because some people have to figure the stuff out themselves. So consulates don't give them appointments, so people come to Portugal and then they'll need to go to CEF and schedule an appointment and then like come again to like bring all the documents, check your country, check people from your country who applied for the same type of visa, whether it's D7, D2, like whatever, because it's always like super different. So step 2 was getting our residency permits, which is going to immigration and bringing the rest of the documents. So we had an appointment on September 15th, we got the visas on June 2nd. We were about to go in like July or something, but then Lisbon had introduced all the like red zone stuff, all the like restrictions again. So we've decided we're gonna stay with friends and family, spend some time with them because we like live in. Yeah, so we came here August 15th, so 1 month before the appointment. The thing is, you need to bring a contract for an apartment for 1 year or like 2, 3, whatever, to your appointment. But August is the worst time to look for apartments because students come back, workers come back, people on vacation, Airbnbs are like booked till like whatever. So we had a very hard time finding an apartment, but it's not the video about apartments. We'll talk about in another one. So I checked the CEF's Immigration Portugal website and they ask for a whole bunch of papers to bring, like your bank statement, your Portuguese NIF number, like tax number, apartment, insurance, health card, like a whole bunch of stuff. I brought all of the stuff and they only took 3. NIF, health card, apartment, that's it. They were like, we don't care about the rest, we have it in the system, like... But also, a very important thing, when you go to your appointment, check the location, because for some locations, you will need to bring your photos. Because for me, I went to one which is close to downtown and they took all the pictures there. They took all the fingerprints. They asked me to sign some stuff. So everything was like digitally. I didn't have to bring any extra stuff. For my husband, he went like very far north of Portugal, not like Portugal, but Lisbon. So he had to bring the paper photos. So for the residency here in Portugal, we paid around 130 euros each. So total is 230 to get your visa and the residence card. In terms of the processing times, my husband got his card 1 week after his appointment, which is crazy. I got my card, how do I show it to you? Security first. I got it a week and a half, so it was like 10 days, 11 days, which is super fast because they told us it's gonna take us 3 to 4 weeks. Some people told us it takes like 2-3 months. So we were like, oh, like, can we like buy tickets to like go somewhere like close, or like, can we not? So I was like, you know what? Let's go to Germany, we'll see how it goes. And then I got my residency card. So we're going to Germany in 2 weeks. Now let's talk about lawyers and immigration consultants. So it's a interesting topic, I'd say, because I've never used any like immigration services. So we had 2 consultations with lawyers. One was a Russian-speaking person here in Portugal. Another one was like, I think, an American or Canadian lawyer. The thing is, if you have a pretty basic case, meaning you have a husband, you have a wife, you both work, I don't think there is need to ask and like pay lawyers. Again, it depends on the country, because I know people from like our countries, from like Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, like all the post-USSR countries, they are having a hard time getting a D7 visa from the countries. Again, if you have a super like complicated case, like you have, let's say, a father who is like paying for everything, and then you have a mother who's a housewife, and then you have 5 kids, 2 dogs, maybe in this case it makes sense to, you know, talk to lawyers and be like, hey guys, how do we actually do that stuff? For us, when the lawyer named the prices, I was like, excuse me, husband, I'm gonna do everything myself. It is not worth paying 20,000 euros. No. So they told us the whole application thing, from applying for a visa till getting your passport, is like 20-something K euros. Like, what? Excuse me? I decided to count, and we've already saved around 10,000 by not asking the lawyers to help us. I mean, if you don't have time and you have money, sure thing, you can always pay lawyers or like immigration people. But like, they charge you $500 for opening a bank account, or like to get your NIF number. We literally paid like $50 for bank. We didn't pay anything. So you should always, like, you know, evaluate your case, maybe take a consultation like we did, and then see if it's worth it or not. And this is it for today. I think I've covered everything. If you still have questions, the comments are yours. If you're planning to move to Portugal, well, best of luck to you, and I'll see you very soon. Bye!